Find out how you can turn LinkedIn into your number one source for leads here on today's episode of Communicate for Impact Live.
Welcome to Communicate for Impact Live, sharing stories, making connections. We are marriedpreneurs, Douglas and Lisa Marie Hatcher, and we teach 3 storytelling frameworks that we call story hacks to help you create better content faster. And today's guest is someone else who wants to help you out with your business. We are so happy to welcome Sophie Lechner. Sophie is a LinkedIn expert and coach, and she is the founder of the Global Growth Experience. Welcome, Sophie.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited for this conversation.
Sophie, it's great to have you. And I got to tell you, there's so much enthusiasm for you and for this particular episode. So let's just dive right in. As a LinkedIn expert and coach, you've identified 5 different kinds of users on LinkedIn. I am dying to find out what they are and what kind of user I am.
Yeah, so you'll have to take the quiz for that. So I came up with this quiz because people love quizzes. Like it's always fun. And so the levels that I've identified are novice. That's really what I would sometimes call virgins. So LinkedIn virgins, when you're really new, you haven't really started anything. Then you have the beginner level. That's where you've started to do a few things on there. You've got a few basics, but really you need to move to the explorer level. And, I love traveling, so those metaphors work for me. So explorer is when you really begin to have all the basics in place and you start to have some momentum. But when you get to the champion level is really where it starts to roll. And that's exciting. There's a master level, but honestly, I barely make that. So I'm not too, it's the champion level you want to get to.
Wow, that's great.
So most people, where do they fall in all of this?
Yeah, so about 30% of people are either novices or another 30% are usually beginners. And then 25-ish% are in the explorer level. And then about 15 something percent, I haven't added those numbers up, are in the champion level. Yeah. So, but what I've done with the quiz is it's fun to do the quiz, but really when you see the different answers, the point is you can learn from the quiz itself what you can do to increase your level, or to increase the engagement, and what you can do on LinkedIn.
And your quiz is available on your LinkedIn profile, right? The people can just click right on it.
Yeah, so I had the idea of doing the QR code, not a new thing, but putting it on the banner, and then I put my brand colors on there as well. So so some people come through there. It's fun.
Awesome.
So Sophie, are these levels, novice, champion, master, are they specifically correlated to how many connections or followers you have? Or does it have more to do with your quality of content or your engagement level?
Yeah, so when I created the quiz, it was really taking all the different pieces of what you need to do on LinkedIn to be successful. So, what you have on your profile, how many connections you have, but it's not really about that specifically or the content. It's all of your activity and seeing what level of activity and engagement you have. So are you doing all the right things? So if you do all the things in the quiz, you get to the champion level and you can really kill it on LinkedIn.
So what makes a good LinkedIn profile, and what's maybe one thing that people could change today to make their profile better?
Yeah. So, obviously first impressions are very important. So having a banner image, somewhat related to what you do if you can. Sometimes that's hard because it's, not something you can represent physically, but just have a nice inviting LinkedIn banner. You can put your tagline or your brand on there. and your an engaging photo where you're smiling and people want to connect with you. um, but then the headline is really important. And what I tell my clients to do is to write their about section first, and then from that, extract the headline. And what you want to do in the about section, really importantly, is have a very clear and very fast um, description of who you help, how you help them, the results you help them get, and not to forget to bring in who you are, why you're passionate about this, what brought you to do this kind of work, because we're all different. Each one of us is unique. And so that's really what you want to um, have come out in your about section.
So your headline that you're referring to are just those 2 or 3 lines that are directly under your
Mhm.
name.
Right.
Correct? And I
Exactly.
think they're limited characters on that. So
Yes.
you really want to make sure
That's
you're
which question. I think it's 226, but
okay. But you really want to make sure you're hitting those points that you just talked about.
yeah.
What you do, why you're doing it, who you're
Mhm.
serving, how you can help, and a little bit about yourself. That sets yourself
Yeah,
up like
because
that.
that little section appears everywhere you are. So when you comment on somebody's post and they see who's commented, they see your picture, they see your headline, the beginning of your headline. So, writing VP or entrepreneur or founder, if you can convey in those first few words how you can help people, that's going to be visible everywhere. That's really important.
So, Sophie, your quiz is already resonating with people. We've heard from Emmy and Mark. Both of them are pretty intrigued by the quiz, and I think they'll probably both take it. Um, Now, let's talk about your coaching program for a minute. I know you have a method called the magnet method, but what
Mhm.
exactly is that? And how is it different from all the other LinkedIn strategies that are out there?
Mm. So the magnet method is really it's really a mindset. It's I want people to be able to get out of all the push strategies and selling and marketing and all of that. And I really want people to just focus back in on their passion and what they can do for people and how they can help them. So the whole idea of the program is really capture who you are in your profile, and then have content and just enjoy coaching people through your content and sharing, and having that be the magnet that really attracts people to you. And that's how it works. It really is. And then there's ways to make sure that you connect with people who are engaging with you. And that's the whole thinking of magnet takes away the pressure of having to market and sell, which most of us don't really enjoy.
So that's the pull. So, in other words, instead of the push, the pull is the magnet part.
Yep,
Okay.
exactly. Yep.
What do you think is one of the biggest mistakes that people make on LinkedIn, and how can they correct it?
Yeah. So a very
I'm taking notes. Hold on. I'm taking notes. Go ahead.
yeah, taking notes. Yeah, what I see happen a lot of times is that people see LinkedIn as a tool. It's one of the many tools we have for marketing, for selling. And they're like, okay, so what do I need to do? I need to put, a post up times a week. And, it's a checklist, it's a to do. And really thinking back to the whole magnet philosophy, and really talking to your audience and helping them and getting back into your role as a coach, as a helper, as an author, as a consultant, um, is when that shift happens. And when you really can focus on that, then the rest it becomes just much easier, right? So stop looking at it as a tool to do your marketing, and just live there and sort of focus on your audience and what you love doing, and then you'll start loving LinkedIn.
Does it matter what time you post?
So to be very tactical, so you want to be in the working hours of your time zone. But what is really important is to test for yourself, because everybody's audience is going to be different. And so, maybe your audience is really the kind of people that take the weekend to go and check their posts and, think about it with their cup of coffee. You don't know. So it's what I would recommend is test different times of day and different days of the week for, about 3 weeks to a month before you draw any conclusions. But have your own test. Um, I think that's the key.
Excellent.
Take us back, if you would, Sophie, to before you either started your business or really got your business off the ground. We talked before the show, and you said something along the lines of you were basically kind of engaging with people without trying to sell and really kind of giving a lot of great content away. And over time, that helped you build a base. Can you talk a little bit about that, especially for those of us who don't want to necessarily give too much of our content
Mhm.
away?
Yeah, so I think it's really important to let go of that fear of giving everything away because, for example, if you write a book, you put everything in your book and somebody can just read the book and apply everything and they'll be all done, right? Is that how it happens? No, it's not, because you really need to have the person work with you. So having the coach, some people can just take a book and apply everything, but for the most part, you're going to need that day-to-day engagement and the support, the person championing you. So I feel that if you really give, um, that whole so there's the content that you give, which is useful, but people feel that energy from you. They feel that you're not there to take from them. They feel that you're there for them. And I think that whole shift in energy is really critical for the receiver because they feel that, so they feel safe. They know where they can come for more information. But as importantly, it changes your own dynamic, I feel. So when you're not selling and you're just giving, then all of a sudden there's this comfort, this sort of relief, right? Like you're
It
just
takes the
giving.
pressure off, right?
It really does.
Yeah.
And then it's just almost magical. Like it starts happening. Like, people just come to me. I don't have to really do marketing. I just share and people come to me. And it's just lovely. It's hard to do that leap, and it takes time. It's not something that happens overnight.
But
You know,
you're proof that it works. Go ahead, Lisa Marie.
yeah, I have like kind of a interesting analogy to share. So we adopted two cats from the shelter, and they
Yay.
both we found out they both had severe illnesses within months of adopting them. And so for one of my cats, I joined a support Facebook group that was a global group. It had like 20,000 people. Um, and you were just sharing updates, what was going on with your cat. We were cheering on people for their cat that were dealing with the
Mhm.
same illness. And I had so much engagement. I would have posts where I would get like, you know, just hundreds of likes or comments or whatever. And I'm like, God, why am I not getting this on LinkedIn?
Cats always win.
What you just said was I was not trying to sell something. I was
Mhm.
not trying to promote something. I was sharing an
Mhm.
experience.
Yep.
I was sharing things that worked for me,
Mhm.
things that helped out the situation. So if we take that mindset and apply it to
Exactly.
LinkedIn, it
Mhm.
takes the pressure off. We are sharing our expertise. We are sharing what worked and didn't work for us.
Yep.
We are sharing a vulnerability, and
Yep.
let's see what happens when we do that and we change that mindset.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You've hit it on the head.
So,
Julia Goldstein said
yeah,
she when we were talking about posting, she says my audience is all over the world, North America, Europe, Asia. So whenever I post, it'll be nighttime for some of my people. Julia,
Yeah.
yeah, we have that too. I think maybe, and Sophie, tell us what you think. I think maybe this is where maybe some of the social media tools would be helpful. You could put a post and schedule it to go up your local time, and then maybe schedule the same post to go up in the middle of the night to reach other
Yes,
people?
yeah. So on LinkedIn, it's a little bit different from either Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, in the sense that I wouldn't post the same exact post twice. I mean, you could, cycle. But what I would recommend, Julia, is to post at different times of the day. If you want to use a scheduler to hit some of the nighttime, you can. I would just supplement that. I don't really like when people go and put all of their posts in a scheduler, because it really gets in the way of you going in there and really living your content and commenting and engaging, which is, one of the biggest mistakes as well. You were asking about mistakes, is posting and then not engaging. It's super important to go back to everybody and engage with them. I've already got a couple of calls set up with people who signed up for this, because I followed up with them, asked them, what they're doing, what they're about, connected. And, so that's the richness of LinkedIn. But yeah, Julia, just post throughout the day and the weekend and see what happens.
Great. Chris Lester just posted, Sophie is so authentic. Great conversation about being too salesy. We're all tired of that. He says he's a LinkedIn, or she, I don't know, Chris, if you're he, she, but
Chris
Chris
is a
says
woman. She was
that
a
they're a
client.
LinkedIn virgin and are ready to advance to beginner, and wish them luck. We wish you luck, Chris. Sophie, as far as all of the LinkedIn tools and options we have at our disposal, we can do surveys, polls. Um, do you think that really does that help? Are those good things to incorporate in our LinkedIn interaction, or do you recommend just more organic posts, or what do you think about that?
Yeah, so I think doing a poll once in a while can be useful. I'm not crazy about polls. I haven't had great results. Some people have great results with polls. But I find that the most important thing of all is to have diversity. So, have a poll once in a while. Carousels or sliders have quite a bit of traction. But again, I have a client who tried the sliders and it didn't really work for her. For me, it's terrific. I get really a lot of engagement on my sliders. So again, see what works, but definitely have variety. I see some people who have these long, that's one of my pet peeves, long posts. LinkedIn changed their maximum post length from 1,300 characters to 3,000. That was the worst day of my life. That's a really bad idea. And then we see these wall of words. But anyway, so doing always the same thing is a bad idea. You really want to have diversity. You want to intrigue your audience. You want to, really engage them. So have images, have videos, have, a lot of variety.
Well, just because you've got more space doesn't mean you need to use it. Um,
That's true.
so let's talk about
If you want a long post, write an article, right?
yeah. Let's talk
Exactly.
about the carousels for a sec. Anything that our audience needs to know about doing carousels?
Well, yes, I would say make sure that you write big characters on your carousel. Don't make these posts, because remember, people are 60 or 70% of people, I think now, are looking at their LinkedIn through their phone. So imagine the size of the font on a phone. So it's important when you're doing a carousel to think about a topic that you can break down into, lists are great, like 5 ways to increase engagement on LinkedIn. Obviously, then you have one slide for each, or one slide plus examples. So two slides for each, that works well. But just make sure that the graphics are engaging, the colors are vivid and engaging, and that your content is written big and very simple, and have a very strong call to action on the last page. And that's what I would say. And you can create carousels with Canva. Everybody loves Canva, and it's a fantastic tool. But you can also create them with PowerPoint. You can change the format and just go create a PowerPoint. But again, with PowerPoint, make sure there's not too much on each page.
So, Sophie, aside from your LinkedIn profile, of course, are
Mhm.
there other folks out there who you think are really doing LinkedIn well?
Yeah. I don't think I can't think of names just now, but well, actually, one of the people I connected with who's on this call, Doug, copywriter. Anyway, he has yeah, I really like his about section. But yeah, there's some people. I can't think of names right now, but there's a lot of people that are doing this really, really well for
Fair
sure.
enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sophie, should you accept every connection request that you get?
No, I don't think so. So you have to kind of see where you are on the progression. If you're a virgin or a beginner, you kind of want to be a little bit less finicky about who you accept because you need to increase your numbers. That's really important in the beginning. When you get to, I would say, 2, 3,000 connections, you can start to be a little bit more picky.
Mm.
And basically, if there's no photo, if the headline is weak, you can easily click on the profile and see right away if this is somebody, first of all, who's not really active and not really anybody you want to engage with. Then on the other end of the spectrum, you have people whose profiles are very sophisticated and everything's good, but you also know you're going to be pitch slapped immediately. So
Yes.
you want to be careful with that, and it's a judgment call. You have to look at the profile and say, I think this person is going to pitch me, so you don't connect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What about do's and don'ts when it comes to LinkedIn engagement and even, frankly, etiquette?
Yeah, so etiquette, it's interesting. I would say always be, it's the same etiquette as in life, right? So be encouraging. If you're going to be disagreeing with someone, do it in a way that is, you're just sharing your perspective, not attacking people. There's a little bit of that going on LinkedIn, but practically,
Mm-hmm.
frankly, really a lot less than I see on Facebook. So I feel quite comfortable on LinkedIn that there's not too much, hate speech or things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, One thing that could happen sometimes is in the comment to somebody else's post, um, bringing in your own offer and talking about it and putting a link to it. That's kind of like, not cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
Someone else, I saw someone do this one time. Share somebody's post and then use all of the arguments to then say, and this is why you need my solution. That is just really not cool.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah.
People can see through that, right?
Yeah, and that's another point. If somebody writes a nasty comment to you into one of your posts, I would say the best is not to delete it, not to do anything, not to respond. Your commenters, your audience, your own audience will come in and defend you. That's really
Mm-hmm.
interesting to see sometimes. And it has so much more power than if you do it yourself. So yeah, so engagement, the engagement part of your question, yeah, engage. That's the name of the game. Engage with people. People are interesting. I don't know about you, but I find people interesting. So that's one of the big mindset shifts about LinkedIn as well is, yeah, there's the posting, there's the leads, there's all this, but thinking of people as people. It's a silly
Right.
thing to say, but it makes all the difference, right? We're not just leads and numbers, we're people. And if you get curious, that's my motto: curious, be generous, right? So I think with those two, you can conquer any situation. And in LinkedIn, it's really critical. Like you're curious about people, you look at their profile, what are they doing? You ask them questions, and you're generous with your content. I find that takes you really far.
Excellent.
Very
So
good.
Julia just said that she always clicks on the person's profile who invites her and then decides whether or not to accept.
Yep.
Mark appreciates your etiquette tips.
Good.
And so do I. Let's move to our closeout questions.
Mhm.
Closeout question number one, Sophie, what's something you've learned in the last 6 months that might be useful to our viewers?
Right. So I'm actually going to cheat a little bit and tell you about something I learned before. But in the last 6 months, I came to realize how important, how critical it is, and how I'm using it everywhere. And that's actually instructional design. I took a class in instructional design 2 years ago because I was creating a course. I was launching a course, and I thought, well, you should do something, you do it right. But then what I realized is I use those principles in everything that I do. So I use it in presentations that I make, I use it in my content, I use it with my clients in coaching them on how to post on LinkedIn. So I would say that's really something that is probably a very hidden kind of skill people don't really go into, but I would highly recommend it.
And there's a book that you recommend, right?
Yes, I forget the name of the book, but which is she's gonna kill me. But it's the company is called Learn and Get Smarter. Rebecca Cuevas. I think it's course design formula: how to teach anything to anyone online. Thank God it came back to me. And
Can you spell her last name for people?
yeah, Cuevas, Cuevas, Rebecca Cuevas.
Excellent.
That's a really good book, and her course is amazing.
Cool.
Great. Great. Our second question we always ask our guests, Sophie, is there a business challenge that you're facing that perhaps one of our listeners today could help you with?
Well, okay. First time I'm putting this out there in the universe. A few people close to me know this, but now it's out there. I'm writing a book. And um, I have set aside some blocks. I can't do this, 15 minutes a day. Like by the end of the 15 minutes, I barely know what I'm thinking. So I need blocks of time, like 2 hours, 3 hours. And I've put that in my calendar, but it's hard. I think I could use a buddy, a writing buddy. So if anybody wants to be my writing buddy, we could block a few times, to be doing our writing. But I'm enjoying the process of writing a lot.
What's the topic?
Well, surprise, surprise, LinkedIn.
Good.
Of course.
Yeah. But,
Is it
I want to bring my own twist to it. Everything we've talked about, be curious, be generous.
I think that's a good title. Be curious, be generous.
Actually, that's an idea.
Excellent. Well, Sophie, thank you so much for joining us today. I know everyone's gotten a lot out of this, and we definitely have.
Thank you.
If you all would like to reach Sophie, I know a lot of you here already know Sophie, but if you'd like to reach Sophie, you can reach out to her on LinkedIn at Sophie Lechner. And I also will have a link to her website on our outro to the show. And if you would like any help with your business storytelling, please check out our free ebook, Business Storytelling from A to Z, 26 Pro Tips and Insights on How to Tell a Better Story. And you can find that on our homepage at communicateforimpact.com. Until next time. Yes, Sophie.
Sorry, that's a terrific list. And those are all tips that you can use in storytelling, in your posts, in your articles, in your about section. So absolutely.
Excellent.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sophie.
Yeah.
So until next time, everyone stay well, and we hope to see you soon. And thank you again so much, Sophie.
You're welcome. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.